Hey everybody, welcome to Havokmkr Studio. My name is John. Today we are going to watch our second Space Marine video, and we're going to do a live reaction to it. Some of you have already asked me about this. Have I seen The Last Templar, the Primaris movie from Pixel Art, I believe is what they're called. Yes, I have. I've watched the original, and then they cleaned a lot of things up thanks to some feedback. And if you would like for me to go over that original video and you guys can see what I'm talking about, some of the things that they needed to fix, let me know down in the comments section and we'll do a review of that. We'll get the link up and we'll get that done this week if we get enough comments saying, hey man, do this. So before we go into this, let's go ahead and talk about what is this about? What is The Last Templar about? So The Last Templar is surrounding the Black Templar Space Marine chapter, or the Adeptus Astartes Adeptus Astartes chapter. So those of you that are not familiar with the Space Marines, they are essentially transhuman, genetically enhanced warriors originally their firstborn, that's what we're going to be talking about mainly in this video. They were given about 19 implants of various types to make them genetic superhuman warriors. At the time that they complete their training, their last implant, they are approximately 7 foot tall, weighing in at around 750 pounds ish. Different lore puts them at different weights, so let's just say 700 pounds just for clarity purposes. They run around in suits of power armor. The power armor itself weighs 180 kilograms, so that's about 380 to 400 pounds. I'll let you guys do the math. And it makes them stronger, faster, tougher than they already were, which is already light years ahead of a standard human. So these Templars, these Black Templars, are a part of a chapter, and all chapters are around 1,000 Marines, give or take. They have a high attrition rate, plus, a high attrition rate when they're in combat and as a full-blown Space Marine, and in the recruitment process and the initiation process of becoming a Space Marine. It's a very high attrition rate. Not everybody makes it. And so it'll fluctuate. We could probably make a case that there's 1,100 Space Marines in a chapter, 800 to 1,100 because of casualties and whatnot. But they all follow this book called the Codex Astartes. It was written 10,000 years ago after this massive civil war that said, hey, there's only supposed to be 1,000 Marines. This is the way you're supposed to wage war. This is how you set up your Space Marine chapter. And here's all the tactics, what you should be doing. Now, a lot of chapters violate, how you're supposed to fight, kind of sticking to their predecessor or their parent legion. It's a way of fighting. Like the Space Wolves are essentially Vikings, so they have a very close combat Viking style way of fighting. There are the Blood Angels, who really follow the Codex, but they also have their own method of warfare, even some of their own equipment that combines close combat with some ranged firepower, so on and so forth. The Golden Boys, if you will, the Ultramarines, their Primarch, their leader of their legion, which is what they used to be called, now chapter, Rabute Gilliman, I know it's a mouthful, he's the one that penned it 10,000 years ago. And it essentially laid down the groundwork for how all the chapters are supposed to be set up. So if you violate that, technically you're breaking the law, and in some cases, some chapters have been branded as heretics for violating the Codex Astartes. Even some Ultramarines, who are the poster boys for the Codex Astartes, have violated and they're punished. In some cases, they've just outright killed. So Codex Astartes is a big deal, and especially when you have the Black Templars, who are this fanatical crusading force, very similar to our knightly orders in our present day, or not present day, but our past. like the Teutonic Knights, the Crusades, the European Crusades into Israel and Jerusalem and whatnot. You all know what hopefully know what I'm talking about. They're very similar to that knightly order. So enough of me chatting about this. Let's go ahead and start this video. I am going to stop it now and then so we can talk about it. Plus, I've got to follow YouTube's rules on reviews. All right, here we go. We're going to stop right now. Because some people are like, what is that tank in the beginning? This tank right here is the Land Raider. This is a massive battle tank. There are many variants. This current variant is a Crusader variant. It has a variety of weapon systems we can't see on the sides, but there are some weapons on the sides called weapon sponsons. They're called Hurricane Bolters. Basically, it's a bunch of rapid fire rifles all mounted side by side and on top of each other to clear out infantry. The front cannon you can see in between the two headlights is called a assault cannon. That's actually a twin linked version, which means that there are two Gatling guns side by side. So you guys know the A-10 Warthog that flies around for the United States Air Force and the Army, and that big old Burt gun that everybody calls. That's basically has two of those guns mounted on the front hull of it. And if you look below the gun, you can see like this little kind of toothed panel there. That's the assault ramp that will drop down, and I think the Crusader version can carry 12 Space Marines in it, or 6 Terminators, and we'll talk about Terminators in a moment. When that drops down, they can assault out and really lay into the enemy, and just it's a horrifying thing when you have a bunch of half-ton power armored souped up warriors come charging out with swords that are essentially chainsaws and big power fists and guns just blazing away. It's kind of terrifying. All right, let's go ahead and keep watching. Paxel Art Presents. That's the name of the people that put this together. All right, we're going to stop it right here. I know. We're going to stop it a couple times. This, it took me a while to kind of figure out. I just had to look at all the different iconography. This is what a Space Marine looks like in his power armor. As of right now, I believe this is a Mark 10 suit of power armor. There being really 9 suits, kind of like the Apple iPhone kind of skipped over 9 and went from 8 to 10. They pretty much skipped over Mark 8 errant armor and went straight to Mark 10 for the Primaris Marines. The Primaris Marines are the new version of the Marines with 3 extra implants that make them even stronger, faster, tougher than their cousins, the firstborn Adeptus Astartes. So this guy, I am assuming, is a captain. The reason why I say it's a captain, if you can see that kind of spiky thing on the back behind his head, that is an iron halo. Basically projects a invisible field of force around him. So even if his armor is not going to be able to survive or his armor can take a lot of damage, but let's say a massive laser bazooka called a las cannon would vaporize a Space Marine, that force field will protect him. That's a very rare technology, usually reserved for the leadership. So your captains, your chapter masters, which every chapter has one chapter master, with the exception of the consuls. We'll talk about them later on, or the white consuls. But they have captains, lieutenants. The librarians won't wear it, but the chaplains, which are their warrior priests, they will have it. But theirs is a much smaller device instead of the big halo. And some of their newer units, like I believe, the Blade Guard veterans have that as well. So just to give you an idea. And the reason why I'm saying that this gentleman is a captain is also, if you can see on his left chest, you can see that little square with the skull in the center and those little ropey laurel things, I forget what they're called, drooping down. You see that in the tabletop miniature game. That's usually associated, you'll see captains having that little tassel thing dangling from. They usually have a cape. I don't know why they wear the capes. Maybe they never saw the Incredibles, but don't wear a cape. So I'm assuming that he is a captain. He could also, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a captain. I was thinking he might be what the Black Templars call a Emperor's Champion, but I don't believe they get the Iron Halo. That's that force field device on the back. So let's get playing again. Lovingly stroking his bolter there, it looks like. And right here, it looks like they're loading in. We'll keep watching here. Loading in what's called an assault cannon. All right, so here we go. We're going to see this door drop, but bam. I'm going to back up a second because I just want to be able to point out, some people are like, oh man, what are they going to be fighting? So I don't know if you can see this, but you see a lot of green throughout this video, especially here in the left-hand corner. You see these geometric pillars all over the place. I'm pretty sure that these guys are going up against the Necrons. It's an alien race that's millions of years old. Essentially, they had their souls implanted into robotic bodies, and they're enslaved to their leadership. Essentially, space mummies, space undead, if you will. And it looks like that's what they're going to be fighting. But let's go ahead on. We're seeing that assault ramp drop. We're going to stop it here just a moment. I like this video because it shows kind of how large and ponderous they are. Yeah, there's more iconography back there. There's our captain looking around like, what am I going to hit? Okay, here we go. I wanted to catch this. So this is what they call a Terminator, not to be confused with the Terminator franchise and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sarah Connor and all that jazz. What this is a suit of tactical dreadnought armor. So where that suit of power armor already made them stronger, faster, tougher, and gave them lots of extra protection and weighed around 380 pounds. The tactical dreadnought armor, or Terminator armor, is much more massive, a lot thicker. I mean, these are some thick boys. And not only does it give them that extra protection, but it makes them a lot stronger. They're definitely slower, but they're a lot stronger and a lot tougher. They can take more damage. They can carry heavier weapons. So what the weapon is, he's about ready to move off to the side there, is called an assault cannon. So that Burt gun that was mounted on the front of that Land Raider, he's basically walking around with a Gatling gun because he can wield it without any problems. It's not heavy for him. He's just like, oh, look at me. This is my pistol. This is my pew pew. That's what he can do with that. The other thing about Terminator armor is that it's incredibly ancient. And I know the lore has changed several times. One of the original pieces of lore is that the tactical dreadnought armor are very limited in quantity and rarity. And they are supposedly carry a shard of the Emperor's armor in it, which gives them a protective field of force, or force field, similar to the Iron Halo. It's not as powerful, but these elite warriors are able to shrug off some of the most devastating attacks, either by their physical armor or that limited force field. So that makes them incredibly dangerous. They have the ability to use some technology to teleport right in the middle of combat or onto boarding actions on the ship. They are terrifying. And this one looks so big and brutal. Oh, so good. So good. There's his assault cannon getting burred up. Oh, look at that. Pew, pew, pew. All right. So Primaris Last Templar, that's the last of this little teaser. If you guys do want me to go over the video later on, I'm going to, for that other original version before they went in and made some changes, and we can talk about that. But I want to talk about some controversy real quick about the Black Templars, and then see what you guys think about this. So before we talk about Black Templar, we need to talk about the Dark Angels. Maybe we'll do a video in the future if you guys want me to talk about the Dark Angels. The Dark Angels are one of the original Space Marine legions what basically set humanity free 10,000 years ago During that civil war, the Horus Heresy that happened 10,000 years ago, that led to the Codex Astartes being made and breaking up the legions, which were, like I said, up to anywhere from a couple thousand to 250,000 in size. The Dark Angels, they basically had their own mini civil war to where about a half, maybe a little bit less than half of the Legion turned against the Imperium. And so they had their own little mini civil war before the Loyalists, led by the Primarch Lionel Johnson, came sprinting back to Earth to help out. But he's a little late. So Lionel Johnson goes up against his traitor's brothers. Now, for 10,000 years, they've kept that secret, which I think largely for shame. Plus, they wanted to, we're going to handle this in-house. And there's basically a meme going around, or memes going around for, I don't even know how many decades now. Let's say at least 2 decades, that the Dark Angels are essentially traitor Marines or Chaos Space Marines, that they're heretics. And I know the jokes are going to keep rolling, and especially with each new generation of fan and players, but it does get old. But it does get a little amusing now and then, just in moderation, please. But it's basically, they look at it, it's like, oh, they got traitors. Are they traitors or are they not traitors? And so essentially everybody just assumes that they are a traitor in disguise, but they're not. Their rebellious members are traitors, and they deserve to be hunted down, captured, seek some redemption, or punished for their crimes. The Loyalists are loyal. Now, they do some shady stuff to maintain their secrecy, which is bad, but every chapter, with the exception of maybe the Ultramarines, does something shady. Now, the reason why I bring them up is because a lot of people look at them as being the traitors. But the Black Templars, who are fanatical, zealous warriors, almost a religious organization, very similar to the Crusades, I would, and you guys might argue with me here, I would put forth that they are probably closer to traitors than the Dark Angels. Now, hear me out. The reason why I say this is every Space Marine chapter, according to the Codex Astartes, is supposed to be no more than 1,000 Marines. Now, they always have an influx of new recruits. They might go over, under, but it's nothing, not like, hey, we got 10,000 Space Marines now because, just in case we lose some, we can be generous and say they might have an extra 100 at a given time. But that's understandable as they're constant recruiting, because there's such an attrition rate, not only from warfare as a Space Marine, but the recruit process sees a lot of them killed. And then the initiation process to become a Space Marine, a lot of them don't make it. I'm just going to say, I'm going to be very generous. 1 in 10. Some chapters might be 1 in 100. Some might be less. Some might be more. Somewhere in between. But it's a very high attrition rate. So that's the reason why it'll fluctuate. So these guys, these Black Templars, they hate the alien. They hate the traitor. They hate the demon. They hate the witch. Anything that's not human and allied with the Imperium. If you ain't human, you ain't right, to make a play on a ethnic horrible phrase. If you ain't human, you ain't right. And if you're not loyal to humanity, then you ain't right, and we're going to purge you. That might be with blade or bolter, or we might just burn you down and salt the earth, or just blow up the entire planet. Whatever they feel is necessary to destroy the enemies of the Imperium. But if these paragons, these exemplars of Space Marines and humanity's finest warriors, why do they spit in the eye of the Codex Astartes? First off, Codex Astartes says, hey, you can use librarians. If you're not familiar, yes, librarians do, catalog books and all that jazz, but for Space Marine, they are keepers of the lore. They are powerful psychic warriors. So they are Space Marines with psychic powers. Black Templars hate the psychics. Even though the Codex Astartes is like, hey, you can use psychics. You have to follow, here's the mandate, here's the rules, everything you need to follow to do that, and you can use them. Well, they hate it. They won't even work with other chapters if they're using psychic. So already it's a slight thing. They're spitting in the eye of it, but okay. They have their own types of squads called crusade squads, where the warriors the regular Space Marines will be alongside neophytes. So they're basically scouts or up and coming Space Marines, and they'll run around together in these massive squads. All right. They're already spitting in the eye again. A minor thing. The big one is they're slightly over the 1,000 member limit for a chapter. By slightly, I mean 5 to 6 times. Where other chapters are around 1,000, give or take. They have anywhere from approximately 14 crusade fleets. This is a crusade fleet-based chapter, meaning they don't really have a home world. They have a massive fleet that goes around throughout the galaxy, and each of these crusade fleets have anywhere from 100 Space Marines, so a company of Space Marines, to several companies, up to 5 or 6 companies in that crusade fleet. So if you do the math, even just without those multiples, if it's just one company, 100 Marines and 14 fleets, that's at least 1,400. That's we might be able to look away. But when you have 5 or 6, up to 5 or 6 companies in a crusade fleet, and there's multiples of those, times that by 14, we get around 5,000 to 6,000 Marines. These guys are closer to traitors than the Dark Angels are. Now, yes, the Dark Angels do some shady stuff, but so does the Black Templars. Sometimes they'll protect humanity, but sometimes they're like, you know what, acceptable casualties. So that's my argument, that these guys are closer to traitors than the Dark Angels. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So if you liked the video, or if you didn't like the video, still give me thumbs up, thumbs down. Hit the subscribe button so I can do some more videos. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this video. Maybe I got something wrong. I have no problem acknowledging that I'm wrong. I'll still pass the blame off to somebody else. I will not take blame. I'm just kidding. I'll take blame for myself. But let me know what you think of this video. And if there's any other videos, not just Marine Warhammer 40,000 related videos, but maybe there's some other videos. I've had some requests for the Black Rifle Coffee Company videos, so I'm gonna look at doing those in the very near future. But still, let me know what you guys think of this. Put it down in the comments below, because it's the only ways I can improve these videos. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. Let's get up to 100 subscribers by March, and I will chat with you all later. Have a wonderful day.